crochet lovers! Today I'm going to show you how to make the boho belt that incorporates the shell stitch. This is a crochet belt that looks great with jeans, yoga pants, palazzo pants, dresses, or long skirts. This is the fourth project of the Crochet Magical Mystery Tour, which is a year-long cal where each week you'll receive a free, quick, and easy pattern plus accompanying video tutorial that features a new stitch or technique. So each week you'll be increasing your crochet skills, but also be completing an actual item that you can use or give as a gift. Also, any of these patterns can be made and sold at craft fairs as well. To support my free work, perhaps you'll take a moment now to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and click on the notify bell to be sure to get alerts of future projects. Also, later on, perhaps you'll also leave a comment. Let me know what you think of this pattern. I'd love to hear your feedback. After you've subscribed here on my YouTube channel, head over to Light and Joy Designs and join the Magical Mystery Tour. All the links are in the description below.
For this project, I'm using Bernat Handicrafter in the colorway Country Stripes. Lily's Sugar and Cream also makes the same colorway with the exact same name. So any variegated or short striping yarn will do well for this project. You can certainly make it in a solid color as well if you'd like. A couple other good choices of yarn. One would be Lion Brand Ferris Wheel. They have these nice color changes. They're relatively short, and some of them have some variegation as well. Another good choice would be Red Heart's Roll With It Melange. This is also a new yarn. The Ferris wheel is relatively new as well. And Roll With It Melange by Red Heart has some beautiful variegation as well as striping. So I'm going to make one with this as well, and you'll probably see it in the pictures. The other materials you'll need: measuring tape, a scissors, a yarn needle, and I like the Susan Bates kind because it's very easy to thread, and I'll have the links to that in my website, lightandjoydesigns.com, as well as in the written pattern that'll be available on Ravelry. Both of those links will be in the description below. Of course, you'll need a crochet hook, and I'm using a 6.0 millimeter hook today. I don't know if you can read that or not, but you'll just use whatever crochet hook goes with your yarn, whatever size you like. In today's boho belt, we have the belt itself, and then we also have the lacing part. And so when you're making your boho belt, you're going to want the belt part to be less than the circumference of your waist or your hips, wherever you're going to be wearing the belt. So you're going to take a measurement of your waist or your hips, and then you're going to subtract anywhere from 2 to 4 inches for the lacing part. And then if you're using acrylic yarn, like this is acrylic yarn that's very stretchy, then you can, if you would like, you can subtract another 1 to 2 inches for that, depending on how much you want the lacing to show. So in my example, my measurement is 40 inches around, and I'm going to subtract 4 inches for my starting chain, which will be 36 inches. So from here all the way around to here is going to be 36 inches, and I'm going to leave 4 inches, which will be more than I left on this particular one. I'm going to leave 4 inches for the lacing. So for your starting chain, you're going to be chaining multiples of 6 chains plus 2. So when you start your starting chain, you are going to want to leave a tail of about 30 inches long. And the reason for that is we're going to use that at the end for making one of the ends of our lacing stitches, our lacing area. So in my case, I have chained a multiple of 6. My number was, I have 78 chains plus 2. So I have a total of 80 chains. So you're going to go ahead and make your chain. Let me show you how to start that. You're going to take your yarn and we're going to make a slip knot. This is the tail end. This is the working end that's connected to our ball of yarn. You're going to cross over the working yarn over the tail, and then you're going to take the working yarn and pull it up through that loop. And then to chain, you're just going to tighten that up on your hook. To chain, you're just going to yarn over and pull through the loop on your hook. Yarn over and pull through the loop on your hook. So go ahead and do that. Make the chain that's going to be equal to the length that you're going to need. Again, measure around your hips and then subtract anywhere from 2 to 6 inches depending on the stretchiness of your yarn and how wide you want your lacing area to be. And then I'll meet you back here to start row 2. Okay, so we are ready to start row 2, and what we're going to do is we're going to start in the second chain from our hook. This is the first chain, this is the second chain, and to make a nice pretty edge, I'm going to be working into the back bumps of my chains. So you've probably seen this on my other videos. The anatomy of a chain is in the front we have these V's, upper thread, lower thread, and then in the back we have the third thread, which is called the back bump. There's one, there's another one, and you can see them. And when you work into the back bump, you leave these V's as your edge, and so it makes a nice edge. So we're going to, this is our first chain, this is our second chain, so we're going to go into the second back bump. First one's always the hardest. And then we're going to do a single crochet. So we're going to yarn over, pull through 1 loop, and then yarn over, pull through 2 loops. And that is 1 single crochet completed. And what we're going to do is just go ahead and go across the entire set of chains. Yarn over, pull through 1 loop, yarn over, pull through 2, making single crochets all the way down your chains, and all the way to the last one. I'll meet you at the last one, and I'll show you where we go from there. I'd like to show you how I'm working this out in case it helps you. And I just also want to say that if you don't want to work into the back bumps, if you're finding it too awkward, that's fine. You can work into either the top thread or the top thread and the back bump. It's up to you. But if you are working into the back bumps, what I do to make it a little easier on that first row is I just kind of grab that back bump and put my hook in there. With some yarns it's easy to get it into that back bump, and with some it's a little harder, but I find that if I just grab that back bump and go into it, that makes it easy. So you can go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you at the end. And I just thought of one other thing. At the end, we're going to have, so we started with multiples of 6 plus 2. When we finish this row, we are going to have multiples of 6 plus 1. And the reason for that is one of the chains, we started with multiples of 6 plus 2, and one of those chains got used as a side stitch on our first single crochet. So, so we will end up with multiples of 6 plus 1 single crochets. And if you would like to make sure that your count always stays right, as you're going through this row, you can just count your single crochets as you go along. That's up to you, if you like to, keep track. So, meet you at the end. Okay, so here we are at the end. I've got 2 stitches left, and in case anybody ever gets confused about, as you're going along, going into chains, if you ever, if your work gets kind of turned and you're like, oh, where do I go? Just straighten it out so all your V's line up, and then you'll be reoriented. And then you can get back to where your back bumps are. So I've just got these last 2 back bumps to do. 1, and here's my last back bump. 1, 2. And you can see this is our bottom edge. How nice that looks when you work into the back bumps. So it's just a little detail. You don't have to do it, but it makes a nice little edge. Okay, so we just completed row 1. And to start row 2, we're going to chain 1, and we're going to turn our work around. And for row 2, it's we're going to start out with a single crochet right in the very first stitch. So we're going to go under those 2 V's, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. That's our first single crochet. And then we're going to have a 6 stitch repeat. So we skip 1, 2, and then in the third one we're going to do 5 double crochets. So to do a double crochet, we yarn over, we go under that V of that stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. One more time. Yarn over, go into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And that is a double crochet, and you're going to do 5 of those into the same stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then we're going to skip 2 stitches. There's 1, there's 2, and on the third one we're going to do a single crochet. So yarn over, pull through 1 loop, yarn over, pull through 2. And we're just going to repeat that all the way down the line. So skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and here we're going to do 5 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and do a single crochet. So you're just going to continue in that way all the way down. Single crochet, skip 2 stitches, do a 5 double crochet shell, skip 2 stitches, single crochet. So our next one is going to be skip 2 and do 5 double crochets, and so on. So just go ahead and do that all the way to the end, and on your last stitch you're going to end with a single crochet, and I'll meet you there at the end. Okay, I just did my last shell, 5 double crochet shell. Going to do my single crochet into this last stitch, which sometimes can be a little hard to find. So we're skipping 1, 2, and there's our V that's going to be at the top of our stitch. So we can just go into that one, first part of the V, and then second. Oops, sorry about that. And now we're ready to do our single crochet. And there's that. So this is super pretty. So we just completed row 2. And to do row 3, we are going to, our shells, in row 3, our shells are going to go into these V's. So it's going to alternate in each row. And this is a short pattern, so we're only going to do 3 rows of the shells. So we're going to do row 2, then row 3, and then we basically repeat row 2. So we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. That counts as our first double crochet, and then we're going to turn our work, and then we're going to do 2 more double crochets into that same stitch. So there's 1 and 2. So this is sort of like a half shell here at the edge. Then what we do is, in our shell, we're going to skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and we're going to do our single crochet just like we were doing before. It's just that it's in a different orientation. So if you can take a guess what comes next, skip 2 stitches, and we're going to do a 5 double crochet shell into this single crochet here. And 5. And again, we're going to skip the next 2 stitches and go into the top of that 5 double crochet shell, and we're going to do a single crochet. And actually, you know what I see here? I'm going to show you this in case you run into this too. You may find that you made only 4 double crochets in one of your shells. Oops. Do you have to go back and frog it? I don't think so. It's not going to show up. So what I'm going to do is, instead of going into one of these stitches, I'm just going to go in between the 2 stitches to do my single crochet. And no one will know except you and me. So then again, we skip 2 stitches, and we're going to do our shell into that single crochet from the previous row, and we just continue in that way all the way across, doing 5 double crochet shell, single crochet, and then another shell. So just continue that all the way across, and I will meet you at the end, and I'll show you what we're going to do at the end, which is we're going to do another half shell at the end in our last single crochet. We'll do a half shell here, which will be 3 double crochets. So I'll meet you at the end. Okay, so I'm here at the end of row 3. I've just done my last whole 5 double crochet shell. I'm going to lock that down with a single crochet in the top of the previous shell. And now in this last single crochet, you can see our V there. We're going to go under that stitch. We're going to do 3 double crochets to make a half shell so that we have a straight edge. 2 and 3. So you can see it's going to grow nice and straight. And you can see here why it's nice using these long striping yarns, because you don't have to do any color changes to get this nice pattern develop. Okay, so for row 3, we're basically going to repeat row 2. So we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. And this is our last row, by the way. You can certainly make your belt thicker if you want. You can do more rows, and in that case you would just keep alternating rows 2 and 3. So in the first stitch here of row 3, we're going to wait a second. This is 1, 2, 3. This is row 4. I apologize. So row 4 is going to be a repeat of row 2. So we're going to go into that first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and that's our single crochet completed. We're going to skip 2 stitches just like we've been doing all along, and we're going to do a 5 double crochet shell into the single crochet that's at the top of the shell. Pull out more yarn here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and again we do a single crochet in the third stitch. 1, 2, 3. So you can see what we're doing now is we're putting our shells in these valleys, if you will. So you'll just continue that across the same kind of pattern to the end, and the last stitch is going to be a single crochet, but I'll meet you there at the end. So I have just completed the last row of the belt. This is row 4. Completed the last shell, and now I'm just going to do a single crochet into this last stitch here, which is actually the top of this chain 3. So I'm going to go into that, pull through a loop, and pull through 2 loops. Now we're not going to cut the yarn because we're going to create the lacing here on this edge. So for the lacing, what we're going to do is we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And we are going to skip 1, and we're going to go into the next place on the side. So we're working into the sides of stitches here, and we're going to do a slip stitch. Okay, and then we're going to chain 3 again. 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to skip a place and go into the next place. It's a little bit of a art and not so much of a science. And then we're going to just slip stitch there, and then we're going to do one more, chain 3, and we're going to go right into the edge stitch here, and we're going to slip stitch, and then what you're going to do is pull the yarn through. Now you can cut your yarn, leave a little bit of a tail for sewing in, and then then pull that yarn through and pull that down tight. So these are going to be the loops that we're going to lace into on the sides. So now we come to our other end. Remember, we left a 30-inch tail on this end. Well, we're going to do the same thing on this side as we did over here. So just go into the first stitch, go in under those V's, and yarn over and pull up a loop with that tail. Then we're just going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, skip a space and go into the next place on the side of a stitch. I like to try and get under 2 threads if I can. And as I mentioned, it's a little bit more of an art than a science, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Nobody's going to be inspecting your stitches. Pull through the yarn and then pull it through the loop on your hook. That's a slip stitch. And kind of pull it nice and tight. Then chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Skip a space and go into the next place where there's an opening. I'm going to go under these 2 threads here. And I'm going to slip stitch, pull a loop and pull it through the loop on my hook, and then the last 3, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to go into the very edge stitch up here under that V there, yarn over, pull through a loop, and then pull it through the loop on your hook for a slip stitch. Pull the yarn through one more time, cut it leaving a tail, and then pull that through. And now we have our 3 places where we're going to lace our belt together. So let's excuse me, let's go ahead and sew in these ends so that they're out of the way before we begin our lacing. So just lace up your crochet needle, pull the yarn through, and just weave those ends in, not too tight. And I'll meet you back here when you have all your ends sewn in. So the next step is we're going to make a chain. We're going to make this, start with a slip knot. We're going to make a chain somewhere around between 20 and 30 inches long. And you may want to have fringe or tassels on the ends of your lacing, or you may want to sew in those ends. It's up to you, depending on like how much of a bohemian look you like. So go ahead and chain up some lacing about 20 or 30 inches long. It's up to you about how long you want your lacing to be, and then I'll come back here and I'll show you how to lace it up. Okay, so I've got about 30 inches of lacing here, and what I'm going to do is, I haven't cut my yarn yet because I'm going to wait and see if it's the length that I like. So you're going to take your piece, this is your top edge, and we're going to take the end of your chain, and I just like to use a yarn needle Just find it makes it just a little bit easier to lace it. And you're going to go through one loop, come up through the bottom or down through the top, doesn't matter. Then you're going to skip one and go down the next one. Pull that through. Then we're going to go, I'm going to skip this one. We're going to go down into this one. I'm going to come across and go into the one on the opposite side. And we go up so that we're matching our direction. And we're going to go down, go across, and go down into the middle one. And then finally come up through the last one. Actually, I need to go down through that one to match the other side. And that's my lacing. So now I'm just going to take a look and see if I like this length, and I do. So I'm going to cut my yarn. I'm going to pull my yarn through, pull that tight, and then I'm ready to, you can, just loosen it up, and you can step into your belt, and then you can tighten it to the amount that you want and just tie a little bow. And that is complete. And you can decorate your, you can make this even fancier, even more bohemian by adding, beads to your chain. You could add additional chains at each of the valleys, or maybe at each of the shells, or both. So you can kind of bedazzle it, make it fancier if you'd like, or you can just wear it just like this. So if you want to sew in your ends, just thread your needle and just go up through your chain. And sew those in. And then you can just cut your yarn. And then you're done. If you haven't already, please consider supporting my free work by liking this video and subscribing to my YouTube channel. Be sure to click the notify bell. This way you'll be alerted of my weekly free patterns. Also, please drop a quick comment to let me know what you think of this pattern. And if you make one, please share a picture on Ravelry, Instagram, or Facebook. I'd love to see how yours turns out. You can use the hashtag LJDCMMT, which stands for Light and Joy Designs Crochet Magical Mystery Tour. And if you use that hashtag, you'll be automatically entered into my monthly giveaways. And you can also tag me on Instagram with at Agent Sully. So all the links are in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.